Hello, and welcome to our presentation on language-sensitive music emotion recognition models. Are we really there yet? My name is Juan Sebastián Gómez, and I'm currently a PhD student at the Music Technology Group from the Pompeu Fabra University in Barcelona. This is a work with Estefanía Cano, Ana Gabriela Pandrea, Perfecto Herrera, and Emilia Gómez. This work was funded by Trompa, a European Union project where we are using citizen science to improve research on music and emotion. This is a brief outline of our presentation. We will introduce the relationship between speech and music and some works on automatic emotion recognition. Then we will talk about the data that we used and hint at some reliability issues from the data. We will present our approach to perform transfer learning from speech to music considering the language of speech and the lyrics of music. Finally, we will comment and discuss our results. The relationship between speech and music has been explored from different fields, but in summary, they share the same taxonomies to describe emotion. It has also been studied that biological processes that function to understand emotional cues in speech are also shared with music. For example, a shouting person and black metal music are typically associated with the emotion of anger. Finally, from the computational aspect, studies have found emotion-related acoustic features for the domains of speech, sound, and music, and researchers have also designed models that can effectively predict emotion in music by pre-training on speech. Our aim in this paper is to revisit our previous study by assembling models that are supposed to work for a particular group of people. This is known as group-based approach to music emotion recognition. In our case, we use the lyrics of the music to train different models on English and Mandarin, producing group-based models for these languages. Our work is inspired by the study by Coutinho and Schuller, who implemented transfer learning for the regression task. They predicted continuous values of arousal and valence of classical music by pre-training on British English speech. In their studies, they have used the dimensional taxonomy, where arousal refers to the energy or activation of an emotion, while valence refers to its pleasantness or positiveness. Conversely, our approach involves using the dimensional model to create 4 distinct categories. The first quadrant corresponds to positive arousal and valence, for example, happiness. The second quadrant corresponds to positive arousal, negative valence, for example, anger. Q3 corresponds to negative arousal and valence, for example, sadness, and Q4 corresponds to negative arousal and positive valence, for example, relaxed. In this way, we can only predict a few categories of emotion, and the reliability of the data is higher. Coming back to the methodology of this study, as input to our models, we use speech in English, the LibriSpeech dataset, and speech in Mandarin, the iShell dataset. It is important to state that the English is a non-tonal language, while Mandarin is tonal. Language tonality refers to the fact that different meanings of a word are conveyed by producing pitch variations. Namely, the same word in the image ma will have different meanings depending on the pitch modulation. For music, we use the 4Q emotion dataset, which contains 80% of the lyrics in English, and the CH818 dataset, which contains Chinese pop songs released in Taiwan. We conducted experiments to analyze inter-rater agreement as defined by Krippendorf for the 4Q dataset. We also conducted interviews with native speakers regarding the CH818 dataset. Building upon the work of Coutinho and Schuller and our previous work, we performed pre-training using speech in English and Mandarin, then fine-tuned the models using different datasets of music. Our hypothesis was that the intra-linguistic setting, for example, pre-training in speech in English and then performing transfer learning on music with lyrics in English, should result in improved performance than the cross-linguistic setting, for example, pre-training in English and fine-tuning with music on Mandarin. In our previous work, we proposed a sparse convolutional denoising autoencoder, from now on SKY. We pre-train on different speech datasets, and then perform transfer learning by extracting the encoder and adding fully connected layers in order to fine-tune on music data. We then implemented multitask learning by adding 3 output sigmoid layers which can predict quadrants of emotion, positive and negative arousal, and positive and negative valence. In this work, we compare our previous SKY with a novel methodology for representation learning called Contrastive Predictive Coding, or CPC, proposed by Aaron van den Oord and his colleagues. The intuition behind CPC is using the underlying shared information between different parts of high-dimensional data, so that an autoencoder inputs a sequence of observations, which in our case are MEL spectrograms with a 50% overlap, into a sequence of latent representations H. Finally, an autoregressive model optimizes a contrastive loss function based on the probability that the future samples are in fact consecutive. In this way, this unsupervised pre-training step appears to converge faster, since the optimization problem becomes a binary classification problem. The presented sequences are either consecutive or not. We then extract the autoencoder and perform transfer and multitask learning as with our previous SKY model. For completeness, and to build upon our previous study, we performed two experiments. In experiment 1, we create a speech dataset from a mixture of languages, 50% Mandarin and 50% English. We then balanced all the datasets to the exact amount of data for a total of 3 hours. In experiment 2, we evaluated the effect of adding more pre-training data. We used 30 hours for the 3 speech datasets and then 3 hours for the music datasets. In total, we present 4 different configurations, 2 for each pre-training method. A configuration of feature extractor, in which we fix the weights from the encoder and fine-tuned on the remaining layers. And a configuration in which we release the weights of the complete network and continue training at a smaller learning rate. The results from our study are presented as follows. Regarding experiment 1, firstly, we found conflicting results regarding our previous work, since the feature extractor trained exclusively on speech is not necessarily extracting meaningful features for our classification purposes. Secondly, we argue that a possibly catastrophic forgetting appears to predominate after releasing the weights, since performance became uniform across all full models, as if the pre-training step did not influence the final classification. Thirdly, our previous architecture outperformed the novel one. Regarding experiment 2, we found that pre-training with a mixture of speech consistently outperformed other configurations. Although this disproved our initial hypothesis, we found it of particular importance, since it is consistent with results that greater diversity of the input data results in improved generalizations. Although our experiments appear to show that performing transfer learning of speech to music emotion recognition is not taking into advantage linguistic features, we are happy to be able to publish negative results that can help other researchers have better ideas. Additionally, contrastive predictive coding is a novel method that appears to yield poorer results. However, this architecture offers faster convergence and further research is advised. As possible future work, we present a couple of ideas. Firstly, more similar domains could prove to be more beneficial for transfer learning. For example, performing it from speech to singing voice. In fact, doing pre-training using emotional speech with different languages might give more insights regarding the impact of supervised pre-training on this task. Nonetheless, these are open research paths since data is scarce, but we encourage other researchers to try this. Thank you for your time. I hope that you will join us in the poster session, and I leave you with some of our references.